Hey guys, I hope you're all having a very good day. My name is Lilia and welcome to the very last episode of my Back to Law School / University series. In this concluding episode number 6 video, I am going to do a Q&A. I asked you guys on my Instagram if you could send me any questions you have about school, law school in particular, or just university or high school or whatever, and I'm going to answer them in this video. So without further ado, let's get into it. So the first question is from Bella Dope, and she asks, sometimes I'm so tired and sleepy from school. Any tips on forcing yourself to maintain a study routine without getting lazy and not fall asleep? P.S. You're such a boss lady, love you. Well, thank you. Honestly, I can really relate to this question because I feel like any student, we all have those days, especially now that fall and winter is approaching, that we feel so tired and so unmotivated to do anything for school. However, there are a couple of things that I like to do when I have a day like that. First of all, I like to take a power nap. I usually take a 20-minute power nap when I feel super tired. Whenever my brain is just not working because I'm just too sleepy, it's better to just, have that 20-minute power nap and then feel better and ready to study again. Second of all, coffee. I don't drink a lot of coffee. I also drink latte, which means that the coffee is not that strong, like I don't drink black coffee. So whenever I'm very tired, I like to drink a little bit of a stronger coffee. And another thing that you can do is drink matcha coffee or like matcha latte or tea, because that also contains caffeine, but it's a little bit more natural. But I personally don't like matcha, but if you do, that's like way better than coffee. And the third thing that I like to do is to just keep pushing through. What I noticed with study routines is that the first couple days that you're like really, trying to stick to your routine, it's quite hard. But if you, went through that initial period of getting into your study routine, things get easier because your body is already in a kind of rhythm. For example, I always prefer studying in the mornings. It took me a while to get used to waking up like before 7 a.m., like around 6:30, but now I can do it easily without complaining pretty much. With routines, it's like the first period, like the first week or 1.5 weeks, it's hard. But if you really, keep pushing through, you will get into it. And then even if you feel like a little bit more lazy or tired, you'll still stick to it because it really became a routine. The next question is from Kelaya AMDR. She asks how to manage your studies whilst working. I think I've answered that question in my other Q&As, but now that I am working like kind of full-time, I feel like I have maybe a little bit of a different perspective on it. Whatever you do, the most important thing is that you kind of keep track of your priorities. Sometimes there will be certain deadlines for school that are very important, and sometimes you will have certain assignments, certain deadlines for your work that are going to be more important than like the homework you have to do for that particular day or week for school. Always keep track of everything that you have to do for either side. So for example, whenever I knew that I had exams coming up, I would make sure that the weeks before I would start studying, I would focus more on my content for LilyLike, and I would also just have a little bit of a hiatus, honestly, on my YouTube channel and on my Instagram, because I would really focus on my exam. While on the other hand, if I had like a big collaboration for LilyLike with some brand that had like really strict deadlines, I would make sure that I had like time during the day to film everything, to take photos, so I would not have to stress about school. So the next question is from La Catabella, and she asks, any tips on what to do when you start to feel overwhelmed while studying for a test? Oh girl, I really know how you feel. I feel overwhelmed all the time, even though I'm already done with law school. I like to do whenever I feel overwhelmed is to make a plan or a schedule. You guys know I'm a big lover of being organized and to schedule everything. So I personally, whenever I feel overwhelmed, the very first thing that I do is either use my Supplied by Lily student desk planner, you guys know, and when I'm on the go I also just like to write it in my notes, especially if I'm kind of still figuring out what I want to do. So I'll write things down and then like delete it and then add it again, if I'm like still kind of figuring out what my to-dos are. And also, you actually see this behind me, I sometimes use post-its to write down all my tasks, especially if I feel very overwhelmed and I kind of want it like hanging in front of me, if that makes sense. I am Miss De Haven asks, how do you manage to remember so much information for all the tests and exams you have? I'm going to graduate I'm going to graduate school. I wanted to know how you manage to fit everything into memory since you're familiar with the heavy workloads. Very big disclaimer I wanna put out there is that you will never remember everything. It's not about remembering everything, it is about remembering the important things. I've talked about this quite extensively in my things that I wish I knew before going to law school. So I will link that video down below and also here. Yeah, I think it's in that corner. I always have it wrong. Studying smart and not hard. First of all, you have to figure out if you're more of a long-term memory person or a short-term memory person. Every person is pretty much both. But I personally always had a very good short-term memory. Like if I would read something like 5 minutes before the exam, I would still be able to reproduce everything like perfectly. While if I studied something like 2 weeks ago or a week ago, and you know, it was like one of the very first study materials, so I had like more time to repeat it and stuff. Sometimes I still forget that during an exam. That happened to me actually quite often. It's kind of my personal pitfall that even if I like repeated the study material a couple times and I would be like, oh, that's kind of like the first study material week, I'll be fine with it. And then when we had a question on the exam, I would be like, damn, I thought I remembered, but I don't. So yeah, and I know a lot of people that would not have that issue too. And then there are also different study techniques, and I actually talk about that in my study routine video, so I'll link that video down below and also here. Then it's Yaverianenim. Sorry, I just completely butchered your username. She asks me, do you have any advice for people who want to study in the US? I'm not quite sure if this question refers to actually like getting accepted to an American university or if it's more about like the US system and like how it is to study in the US. My number one answer that I always give to people whenever they ask me how to study in the US is to go to your study advisor. I get a lot of emails and a lot of comments from people asking me how they can study in the US. I don't know what university you're from. I don't know what university you want to go to. I don't know what you want to study. I don't know like how your grades are, stuff like that. And even if I had all that information, I am, you know, just another student. I'm not a study advisor. The person that does know and can help you with that is your study advisor. And whether you're in high school or college or undergrad or grad school or doing your bachelor or your master or you're in university, whatever you want to say, law school, you'll have a study advisor, and that person is specialized in giving you information about things like exchanges or actually following a whole master's degree. I personally came as an exchange student here, which means that my university, University of Groningen, had an exchange agreement with the George Washington University, and that's how I came here fairly easily. And because I already got accepted for the exchange program, I then applied for the full master's degree. That made it easier for me to apply as well because I was already like actually studying there, but just as an exchange student. So I personally would always recommend going on exchange. Yes, it will limit your options because I at first really wanted to study in New York York, but my university didn't have an exchange relationship with a university in New York. In the end, I'm so happy that I went to DC and not to New York, because I love DC way more than New York. So yeah, it kind of worked out. So what I would recommend is to try to go as an exchange student, because it's also probably gonna be cheaper as well. And then when it comes to tips for actually studying in the US, I actually have a whole video that is about the differences between US law school and European or Dutch law school, and I think that is very helpful, because that will kind of show you what the commonalities of a US system are. Even if you're not studying in the Netherlands, or even if you're not studying law, it's still interesting to see, because things like the Socratic method and cold calls and like having more kind of essay types of questions that ask more of self-reflection, not self-reflection, reflection, critical reflection on the questions, yeah, or on the study material, oh my god, I can't talk, are more common in the US system. So if you want to know more about that, definitely check out that video. Again, I'll put it in the description box. So yeah, hopefully that answered your question. Now a question that is quite personal. It's from Days Haglen, I think. They asked me, how do you focus on studying and actually learning material while dealing with family problems? My grandmother is in the final stages of cancer and I find it at times hard to study. Well, first of all, I am so sorry that you have to go through that, and I'm so sorry that your grandmother is sick, and I hope she will be okay. But I can totally imagine that being very hard, especially to focus on something unimportant such as studying when you have a loved one in pain. Best advice that I can give you is that you shouldn't be too hard on yourself. If there is a day where you just feel so sad and like so not into it, it's totally okay to miss a study day. Like it's not the end of the world, and you shouldn't be too hard on yourself. So give yourself those days off, those moments off when you need it, and don't be too hard on yourself, because that's not gonna make you, want to study again. Second of all, I think it's helpful to maybe study with people. So form a study group with your best friends, and they can kind of like lift your spirit a little bit. They can kind of like push you through to study together. And also whenever you feel the need to talk about it, you have your study mates with you, so you can also talk about that, and they can support you. So I think studying in a group is better than studying alone. And last but not least, I will definitely tell your teachers or your professors about it, because often schools have some kind of like exception, some tolerance whenever you are in a situation like that, and it's just good for them to know, even if they're not gonna give you some benefits because of that horrible situation. It's always good to have a relationship with your professors and your teachers. So I would definitely suggest talking to them too about it. And I don't even mean sharing your feelings. I just mean letting them know that you're going through a rough patch, and that you have issues with focusing. And the last question that I'm gonna answer is from Amina Faye, and she asks me how to battle procrastination. I'm gonna say one very important thing, and that is to get rid of your phone, because I feel like the main reason why we all procrastinate is your phone. So what I always like to do is just kind of hide my phone somewhere, or even give it to a person, that's even better, and to just, go study. I also like to turn off the notifications on my computer so I don't get notified by any emails or stuff like that on my computer. I'm not the type of person that is like, okay, every 15 minutes I'm gonna do a break. That doesn't really work for me. It's more of a kind of feeling thing, if I'm in the mood or not. Sometimes especially before deadlines. I can just study like the whole day straight and like with only eating breaks, and sometimes I need like a break every 10 minutes because I'm literally doing nothing otherwise. So that's kind of how I battle with procrastination. So guys, that were all of the questions that I wanted to answer for this back to law school / university Q&A. And if you liked it, please give this video a thumbs up, because then I will film another Q&A, maybe a more personal Q&A or like a business related Q&A or a US type of Q&A. I don't know, let me know in the comments down below what kind of Q&A you would like me to do. So yeah, give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and to click on the little bell to get a notification whenever I upload, because YouTube has been doing crazy things. I know a lot of you guys don't get my video in your subscription boxes. Super annoying. But with that being said, that is the end of back to school season 2018. I've been a little bit later with finishing everything. That's just because my visa has been a priority. That's everything that I wanted to say. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll talk to you very, very soon. Bye guys!